When you're displaying data in a list view, the job of the adapter is to respond to user events as they cycle through the list. The adapter cycles through the underlying data and then creates and populates views in your item rows. When you're using the default array adapter and the layouts that are included with the Android SDK, it's all automatic. But to customize the display, you'll need to create your own custom adapter classes and XML layouts. You'll then write a bit of code that receives the data objects from the adapter and displays it in views that are a part of the layout. I'll start by showing you how to create the layout file, and then I'll go on to create the custom adapter. In this project named Custom Item Layout, my main activity class has been cleaned up a bit. I still have the code to sort complex data objects, but I've cleaned up everything else. I'll go to the Resources folder in the project window, and I'll show you that there's a drawable folder here with a file called applepie.jpg. I'll be using that to model my layout file. And then I'll go to the layout directory and I'll create a new layout resource file. I'll name it list_item.xml, and I'll set its root element as relative layout. And then I'll create the file. The file starts out looking like this, and I'll immediately reformat it to make it a little bit more readable. Now, each time I use this layout, it's going to represent a single item in the list. I'm going to add a little bit of vertical padding. I'll set padding bottom to a value of 5 dp and padding top to the same value. And then I'll add views within the relative layout. My layout is going to have an image view on the left and a text view on the right. I'll go into design mode, and then I'll locate the image view component, which is down here, and I'll drag and drop the component into place. And I'll put it right up into the top left corner initially. When I drop the object into place, I'll be immediately asked what I want to display. I'm going to choose that Apple Pie graphic from the drawable folder and click OK. Then I'll set the width and height to 50 dp each. Now that's going to look really small, and that's fine for now. Then I'm going to drag and drop a text view component. And I'll get this from the top of the widgets list, and I'll place it right next to the image view. Then I'll go into text mode to clean up the code. First, I'll reformat everything to make it a bit more readable. The image view automatically gets an ID of image view, and that's fine for my purposes. It also got a line parent left and a line parent start set to values of true. These two attributes do exactly the same thing. They start the image view off at the left edge of the screen, but a line parent left is for older versions of Android and a line parent start is for newer versions. And a line parent top is set to true, but I don't want that. I'm going to replace that attribute with an attribute called center vertical, and I'll set that to true. So that means that the image will be centered vertically in the row no matter how tall the row is. I'm also going to set a content description. This is an important attribute, which is for accessibility. And I'll set it to a literal string of just apple pie. Now when I do that, I see a warning indicator, so I'll move the cursor back down there, and I'll use an intention action, and I'll use the suppress tool and add an ignore attribute that says, yes, I know I put in hard-coded text, but it's just for design purposes, so I want the compiler and the lint syntax checker to ignore it. So that's the image view. Now I'll go to the text view component and make some changes there. I'm going to set the ID of the text view to something more descriptive. Item name text. I'll leave the width and the height at wrap content, and then just as I did with the image view, I'll delete the align parent top attribute and replace it with center vertical set to true. Now I want the text view component to appear to the right of the image view, and those attributes are already in place down here. Again, to end of is for newer versions of Android, and to right of is for older versions. And I'll reset the margin left and margin start attributes to a dimensions resource that's already a part of the application named activity horizontal margin. Now for design purposes, I'll change the text attribute to a menu item, and I'll set the text size attribute to 24 SP. You could instead use a style if you prefer. Then just as I did with the image view, I'll add an ignore attribute because I'm using hard-coded text, but only for design time. And then I'll look at the layout, and I'll see that it looks exactly like I want it to. Now, it's a lot taller than it's actually going to appear at runtime. The height of the row will be controlled by the list view itself. I don't need to worry about that. What I'm checking for is to make sure that the relative heights of the image and the text that I'm displaying look right. And they look good so far. So now I have an XML layout file to represent each row in the list, and I'm ready to add some Java code, creating a custom adapter that uses this layout file. And I'll show you those steps in the next video.